the kind of person that needs a desktop that can juggle spreadsheets, video calls, and a couple of coding projects without breaking a sweat, and who could probably get by with a cheaper laptop. Is the HP ProTower 290G9 the sweet spot for a small business owner or a graduate student, and does its price make sense for anyone just looking for a reliable everyday machine? Those are the questions that keep most shoppers up at night, especially when the market is flooded with flashy specs that sound great on paper but can turn out to be overkill or worse, a mismatch for real-world workflows. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When I first started digging into the HP ProTower 290G9, the thing that caught my eye was the promise of a 12th Gen Intel Core i5 that can boost up to 4.6 GHz. That sounds like a lot of power, but the real test is how that power translates when you're actually opening a dozen browser tabs, running a Photoshop file, and streaming a webinar at the same time. In my own home office, I set it up with two 27-inch monitors, a USB-C dock for my phone, and a couple of external hard drives for backups. The moment I booted Windows 11 Pro, the system felt instantly responsive. Programs launched in a flash, and I never hit that dreaded spinning wheel while switching between a Word document and a data analysis script in Python. The first practical strength I noticed is the memory configuration. With 32 GB of DDR4 RAM, you're basically future-proofing yourself for the next 5 years of multitasking. I ran a scenario where I had a large Excel pivot table, a Chrome window with dozens of tabs, and a virtual machine running a Linux distro for testing code. Even with all that pressure, the tower held steady, no stutters, no delays. For a small business that needs to run accounting software, a CRM, and a web browser all at once, that kind of headroom is a genuine time saver. Storage is another area where this model shines. A 1 TB NVMe SSD gives you the kind of speed that feels almost instantaneous. I copied a 40 GB video project folder from an external drive to the internal SSD, and the transfer completed in under a minute. That means editing 4K footage or moving large research datasets doesn't turn into a half-day chore. The SSD also keeps the system quiet, no whirring fans trying to spin up a traditional hard drive, which is a nice perk if you're recording video tutorials in the same room. Connectivity can be a deal-breaker for many buyers, and HP didn't skimp. Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.3 are built in, so you get a stable wireless connection even when you're streaming a live webinar while uploading large files. I tested the Wi-Fi 6 connection by streaming a 1080p video while simultaneously running a file backup to a cloud service. The stream stayed smooth, and the backup didn't stall. The tower also offers a decent selection of ports, 2 USB-C, 3 USB-A, HDMI, DisplayPort, and Ethernet. This makes hooking up dual monitors, a printer, and a USB-C hub a breeze without needing a bunch of adapters. Now, no product is perfect, and the ProTower has a few practical weaknesses that matter once you start using it day to day. First, the case is a fairly standard mid-tower design, which means it's not the most compact option if you're working in a tight space. The chassis is about 18 inches tall, so you'll need a desk with a little clearance. For a student living in a dorm, that could be a deal-breaker. Second, while the i5-12500 is a solid performer, it's not a top-tier CPU. If you're doing heavy 3D rendering or training machine learning models locally, you might feel the need for a higher-end i7 or an AMD Ryzen 7 with more cores. The system is also limited to a single GPU slot, so you can't easily add a powerful graphics card later without checking power supply compatibility. Speaking of power, the included 400W PSU is adequate for the stock configuration, but if you ever want to upgrade to a mid-range graphics card for occasional video editing, you'll probably have to replace it with a higher wattage unit. That's an extra cost that isn't obvious from the spec sheet, and it's something buyers should keep in mind before committing. Another nuance that often slips past the marketing copy is the noise level under load. When I ran a stress test with Prime 95 for a few minutes, the fans spun up noticeably. It wasn't deafening, but it did become a low hum you could hear in a quiet room. If your workspace is a shared office or a bedroom, you might want to consider adding a fan controller or opting for a quieter aftermarket cooler. So, who should walk away from this tower? If you're a freelancer who needs a reliable workstation for writing, spreadsheets, video calls, and occasional photo editing, this model hits a sweet spot between price and performance. It's also a solid choice for a small office that wants to standardize on Windows 11 Pro and have a machine that can handle multiple monitors without lag. Graduate students.